Isak and Yaakov, giving double honors to 7130 South Chicago that taught me this truth, and giving double honors to all the brothers and sisters that the Creator are walking in these last days. With that being said, peace and shalom. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to go into a quick discussion. I hope it be quick. But I was listening to um, an individual by the name of Officer Tate and his critique of the verdict of Rick Chow basically being, Rick Chow being acquitted for the murder of a 14-year-old kid, right? And I was listening to Officer Tatum, and Officer Tatum was talking about how basically the young guy came into the store with the intent on stealing something out of the store, and that also he had a gun on him. Now, let's say that the young guy that had that came into the store, that he had a gun on him. Say he had a gun on him, and that he was stealing. Let's say he was stealing, right? And they asked the young guy to leave and this, that, and the third. It shows me how stupid Officer Tatum is because on the footage that he was showing, because he was trying to make the young guy to be a hoodlum, right? Which he may have been a hoodlum, right? You can actually see the young guy on the footage fleeing away from the situation. Now, all Officer Tatum was zeroing in on is the fact that the young guy was stealing. That has nothing to do with the law of a person that has a gun. Let's give you an example. If I get into a scuffle with a man, we on the street, we scuffling. I got my gun on me. The guy gets the best of me. I'm upset. The guy, uh, I'm upset. I pull my gun out. The guy sees the gun. He takes off running. And then I chase him down. And then next thing you know, we scuffling again. Then I shoot this guy. First of all, it done went from a scuffle to what you would call first degree murder. You know why? It's because you could have left the situation alone, but you took it upon yourself to do what? Because you was angry. You angry because you lost the fight. And then next thing you know, you kill this guy. Or let's say I won the fight. And then I still pull my gun out and shoot him. That's first degree, that's murder. So why did I bring up that scenario? I brought up that scenario is because we can see on the footage the young guy is fleeing. The first thing that Chow was supposed to do was let him have that. But he ran after this guy. I believe it was Chow and his son. Now they probably caught him, and next thing you know, they scuffling, and next thing you know, Chow killed him. I don't know what world we living in. Well, I know what world we living in, but that is clearly first degree murder. Regardless if the young guy stole out of the store, even regardless if he had a gun on him, Chow is guilty. It's because Chow, he ran after this guy and he killed him. So Officer Tatum is saying that there's no racial situation in that. Let's look at the Carmelo Anthony situation. According to the verdict, Carmelo Anthony was guilty of murder because he got into a scuffle with a man, and the next thing you know, he pulled out his knife and he stabbed the man in the chest. Right now, Carmelo Anthony's his defense is that he was basically fighting for his life. This guy outweighed him, and he felt like he was an imminent threat of this person, right? That put his hands on him. Now, what's interesting about that case, Carmelo Anthony goes to jail for first degree murder of a man that put his hands on him, right? Chow chases a man 100 yards and then kills him and then gets off for murder. He sits in jail, I believe, for 3 years, but he ended up getting off for murder. But there's no racial situation in that. You know what's interesting about Officer Tatum is that you have black people like that will throw their own people under the bus because they want so hard, they are fighting so hard to be accepted in this country. A country that is never going to accept you as a human being. The case showed that this young guy that is 14 years old, or a black person in general, he has um, basically, he's still considered 3/5 of a human being. It's because I looked up the law. I asked Google, I say, can you run after a person that is running from you and the person has a gun? They say, no, you cannot do that because the person is fleeing. He is no longer a threat. You cannot go behind him and run him down, and the next thing you know, he's dead. You can't do that. So that shows you that the court systems, the judge, even the jury, a lot of these people they're not even following the law. Because the law states that if a person is not an imminent threat anymore, you cannot use deadly force. So this shows you that they're not even practicing law anymore. They practice law when it fits them. But if it doesn't fit them, law don't even apply. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, peace.